There isn't a part of me that says it's not going to happen. It's going to happen. Doing profound healings on people, rewiring systems, rewiring cancer, rewiring all sorts of things. People will have a heart murmur and they're hooked up and their doctor's like, what did you just have done? Like, why is this gone? And these are things I haven't wanted anyone to know, but I need to start to embrace this part of me and know that I'm safe in them.
And so I'm definitely seeing this kind of split where you can't even really have conversations, because it's like, instead of having two lines that might meet at some conflict, right, off in the distance, the two lines are literally like parallel tracks that will never converge.
Just by you being you and you being vulnerable yesterday, you gave me permission on something within myself. It's less about achieving to achieve for recognition, or that is to experience what that is, because I just want to try all these flavors. Like,
maybe that's what the one is doing with the entire universe, that it sets itself up to experience this absence of love so that it can feel the feeling of love as it returns. Danette May, what a pleasure to have you on the Think Tank. And I'm super excited to have this conversation. You've had quite an interesting career in life, and I'm kind of blown away. You told me, I don't know if it's a secret or not, but I won't mention it either way, how old you are. And I was like, wow, that's freaking impressive, because you do not look anywhere close to that age. I would have guessed at least 15, probably 15 years younger than what you actually told me, which is pretty amazing. And so you must have some really, really strong expertise in the field of anti-aging and health and wellness, and probably now burgeoning into spirituality. And so I started looking into your work, and I was very excited to see all of your interest in sound healing as well. And you've been a very successful entrepreneur. You've actually sold some companies as well. You've had some successful exits. What is it that makes you tick?
oh, God, that's a really broad question. It's something I'm constantly asking myself. But if I were to just really answer right now, I think we were just talking before we pressed record. And I think I said what I really feel is that we get to live this life as a human in this human body. And life has so much flavor, so much dimension, so many dimensions happening at once. So I get to choose where do I want to jump in and what do I want to experience. And it's really fun for me. So it's less about achieving to achieve for recognition, or that is to experience what that is, because I just want to try all these flavors. Like, let's say, imagine if I was in this ice cream shop. I'm the type that's like, I want to try all the flavors. I'm probably the annoying one that's like, let's do a mini scoop of all of them. I don't want just one flavor. I want to try them all.
Okay, but then sometimes in life, don't you get forced to kind of choose? You can't do all of them all the time. So have you had to learn how to sequence those things so that you can be able to do them all, maybe, to a level of proficiency or a degree of success that you're hoping?
Yeah, I thought about something you actually said. I had the privilege of being with you yesterday, diving into your mind. And, you said something where you didn't want to be boxed. I felt this huge reflection back of my character, because I always am like, when someone's like, oh, you need to know what you do. Like if someone asks you at a mastermind, which I hate masterminds, I'm the one at the pool that's like, I'm not going inside the thing, because I like to do it all. And I don't want to pigeonhole myself into one thing. And I'm still living that. But one thing I've recognized about my personality, and I don't, I had someone tell me it's probably ADHD, because if I have an idea, there isn't a part of me that says it's not going to happen. It's going to happen. I don't even question it. It's like, oh, I got this idea. It came in, and which I say it's coming from spirit. And then if I have this idea to create a program or to do this event or to do whatever the thing is, create a superfood company. Like I went to my team, I was like, we're doing this. They were like, no, we're not. Like there's overhead, there's legal. We've never even worked with manufacturer. I'm like, we're doing this. And they're like, well, you have no proof, a concept that this is even going to go well. I'm like, Spirit told me it's going to go great. And I'll just dive in, and my brain, like if I'm creating a program, I will go like 7, 8, 10 days. I'll get up at 1 a.m. and it's pouring out of me, and I'll go, 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 go until it's done. And then I'm looking around, not knowing what to do next. Like I'll just pour into something until it's complete. And then I pull back out and I'll go to the next thing.
Hi, I'm Robert Edward Grant. I invite you to explore my transformative books, Philomath and Polymath, each designed to expand your understanding of the world and ourselves. In Philomath, which means lover of learning, discover how mathematics weaves together physics, music, and prime number theory, revealing the universe's interconnected nature. It's more than a book, it's an enlightening voyage. Polymath builds on Philomath's insights, exploring the genius of thinkers like Pythagoras and Da Vinci, who used geometry to revolutionize science, art, and governance. Rediscover the polymathic roots that sparked past ages of enlightenment. Join me on this journey as well. Visit robertedwardgrant.com to get your copies today. Let's foster a new era of enlightenment and collaboration for a brighter future.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think that's the key. Pour into something until it's complete, and then you go to the next thing. I think that's a skill set not a lot of people actually have. And that's kind of the exact same way I've tried to do it in my career as well, because I've had so many different opportunities and so many different things come my way. And there's just no way to do all of them simultaneously. And it doesn't mean that I can't do all of them eventually. It just means I can't do them all simultaneously. And that has been a core aspect of it. And then learning how to get something done and then move to the next thing rather than trying to do them all at the same time.
Yeah. And also just team. I mean, I would say that I have a strength of delegation. I really looked at that at Richard Branson a lot. I think he delegates very well. And I've really tried to not have to be in control of everything, just be the visionary, share it, and let people present. And that way I can do more and have different businesses and different ideas that I want to express in life, but I don't have to be the one doing everything. Like I really do delegate a lot.
And you mentioned yesterday that you mentioned Richard Branson yesterday also. And did you go visit Necker Island?
Yep. Got to hang out with him. Have a lot of like personal time with him. I think everybody wants to feel like they've got a friend in someone, or like they don't want something from you. They just want to be a friend exchange. And so we did have a lot of good exchange one-on-one, which was really impactful for me, the way his brain thinks and the way that he operates in life. Like, for example, he's like, get up and let's do this bike ride that I always go do on this other island. So there was a few of us, and they were mainly people, they were guys. There was no other girls. And they were like, yeah, we'll go on this bike ride with you. So we go over early in the morning, and it kicks everyone's butt. There's only 3 people that can finish it, right? It's so hard. And we get done with the bike ride with him, and I'm like, still like, how did he do this bike ride? And then we get back, and I am exhausted. I finished the bike ride. It was my one goal. I was like, I'm going to be that girl that finishes this bike ride. Like, because people were just dropping out. It was so hard. And I'm so tired after the bike ride. And I went back to my room and took a nap. And then he's like, hey, meet me in the hot tub. I want to talk to you. And I was like, he's like, what did you do after the bike ride? I'm like, I took a nap. I'm like, what did you do? And he was reaching out to people about the war situation and coming up with solutions around gas and making emails. And then he's like, after the hot tub, you want to go play. He's like, let's go lift weights and then play tennis. And I was like, oh, like you don't, you just like have another level. So it was a huge example of just really like playing hard, but then just going after your purpose hard as well.
Yeah, I've spent 2 weeks on Necker.
So, did you do that bike ride?
We never did the bike ride. I think it was just maybe what time of year did you go there?
I don't know. Maybe it was like April.
April. I was there in both times. Once was in the fall and once was in January.
Oh, okay.
And it was, it was great weather both times, but it was a fun time. I got to spend a lot of time with Richard as well. And he actually had a pretty big impact on the direction I took when I left the corporate world, because I was a
Oh,
corporate CEO for a long time. I was president of Allergan Medical, which
oh,
is
wow.
Botox and Juvederm and Latban Latisse and all these products that became household names. And I got the opportunity to kind of lead the commercialization of all of those products,
Wow.
and and some of the quite a lot of the manufacturing of them too from the beginning, and R&D and all of that. And then I was CEO of Bausch and Lomb,
Oh my
um,
gosh. Wow.
which is the eye care company.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to Necker, I was there. I was CEO of Bausch and Lomb at the time. That was the first time I went to Necker, and then the second time I went, I started my companies on my own, like my own family office group and everything, of which I've now taken kind of 4 companies public. But and I've had, some super success and some not as much success, and some in the process of being more successful, but still kind of having fits and starts, right? And that's kind of the life of an entrepreneur. But I founded 11 companies, and I remember across different sectors, totally different sectors. And I asked Richard the first time I went there back in 2010, how he decided which sectors to go into. And he said, "Oh, my playbook is pretty simple. I like to pick industries with not a lot of regulation, and where the common denominator is that all the competitors are moving away from the customer." And he said, "So what I do is I just chart a course back towards the customer's benefit, and which is the opposite direction of what everyone else is doing, and where they're all going. And especially if they all are facing earnings per share. So if they're all public companies, they have a hard time to kind of turn around,
Right.
right? It's kind of like an aircraft carrier trying to spin on a dime or something. It just can't really do it."
Right.
And he said, so then by focusing on the customer's benefit, I take market share and I do really well. And most of the time, it's a playbook that works. And I'm like, but wait a minute, you're in airlines and all this stuff. I mean, how is that unregulated? He goes, no, it's actually, airlines are not very regulated, um, until you become unionized,
Okay.
right? He says, once you get unionized, it's over. So that's why as soon as they became unionized, right, for Virgin Atlantic and all that, that was when he's like, okay, I'm going to
Done.
sell it to Alaska, right,
Yep.
Air. And so, but I remember then taking that same playbook and saying, okay, what if I did the exact same thing with my companies, but focused on the most highly regulated industries?
Interesting. And
And
how,
that's what I did. I focused, in areas that were the most highly regulated, and which also gives you the highest barrier to entry. So what one man sees as trash, another man sees as treasure, right?
and
And that's
has it been
basically what I
fun?
did.
Has it lifted you up? Has it been soulful?
It's been a journey. It's been an odyssey. Let's put it that way. It's been an odyssey. At times it lifted me up a lot, and at other times it was bone crushingly oppressive.
That's because you're honest. I would imagine. I would imagine at
Yeah.
times.
I mean, it's not like I could sit here and say to you, oh, it was like this, walk in the park. It was beautiful. No, being an entrepreneur is hard.
Hmm.
And anybody who believes that, the CEOs that start from scratch are, just somehow entitled, and they somehow happen upon it because they knew the right people or whatever, there's always some degree of that can come into play. But the reality is, it is a lot more cold and lonely and a lot more difficult than anyone who's never been in the ring could ever have excuse my French, an effing clue about.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's the fact of it. It's just the fact.
Yep.
So everyone that talks about, sits back in their armchair and like makes their judgments on what someone should do and how the CEO, or, when someone says, you didn't make that, all these other people made that. Yes, it's true that it always takes a team. There's no letter I in the word team.
Yep.
And yes, the me has to turn to we. It has to flip upside down. But the truth is that being an entrepreneur is way, way, way harder than being a corporate CEO.
Interesting. Because I've never played well, I played a little bit in corporate, and that's interesting you would say that.
I've
I would
done
always,
both.
in my soul, I would feel corporate would be so much harder for me than ever being an
Well,
entrepreneur.
I mean, there are hard, don't get me wrong, there are definitely hard aspects to it. Like
Mhm.
being a corporate CEO, you have to become an expert in how to deal with politics.
Okay, so it's just a different game.
Yeah, because you're not really the boss.
Yeah, exactly.
As an entrepreneur, you actually can be the boss, but the buck stops with you. And so there's really no such thing as boss. You're like chief cook and bottle washer, as well as like
Exactly.
financier and everything else, right?
Exactly.
In between. Whereas when I was at, Bausch and Lomb, and we had like 27,000 employees and all of that, yeah, there was like a mountain of people that could help do things. And you have a private jet and all this type of stuff. But the truth is that everyone is looking at you. It's almost like I used to describe it like a piece of paper. Let's say you pull on one side of a piece of paper. It's not elastic, so the paper is going to move. So you're constantly moving in small pieces, right? So that you don't upset the whole apple cart and turn the whole thing upside down. But you
Totally
need to
different skill
move over here, but then realize, oh, that could have a negative impact on the customer, or that could have a negative impact on the employee, right? And so it's this constant movement of tiny moves very gently so that you don't upset it too much. And you have to learn how to manage momentum. Whereas, I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're not managing momentum.
set. No, you're just
You're
going.
managing generation of life force, right? It's
Yeah.
like you have to start it from scratch. It's out of the void. It's from an idea on a piece of paper.
Yep.
And I've never seen a company thrive without the founder imbuing that company with his own or her own life force energy.
Yep.
It is what it is. And you
Yeah.
never have to do that. When I was CEO at Bausch and Lomb Surgery, I never had to do that. I never had to put my life on the line or
Your
take the
life
massive
force.
risks,
Yep.
right? There was always a golden parachute, always waiting for the just in case scenario.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I have not experienced that in life. I've just always been an entrepreneur from when I was a little girl. It's always what was ingrained in me, taught in me, and probably is really my essence.
Have you been a member of YPO at all?
No, so many of my friends are. So, like I said, I don't get involved in very many things. I put my head down and work and try not to hear too much of what everyone else is doing. That's kind
Yeah,
of
I
been what
was.
I've been like. It's been more recently that I've come out, like, because then people hear about your businesses and people hear about you. But I would say a lot of my time has been head down in the mountains creating.
So, but then, okay. I mean, for me, I went from being this corporate CEO to all of a sudden becoming more of a spiritualist. It wasn't even an intentional thing. It just sort of happened. I was going into my north node. I didn't even realize it. In astrology, there's something called a north node and a south node. Do you know yours?
Yep. My north node is Libra.
Libra. Okay. And then, so that means your south node is
Aries.
Aries.
Yep.
Okay. So that's perfectly what you're describing as your own transit right now.
Hmm.
So moving into Libra is going to be all about education, right? It's very much about education, becoming wise on the world around you, learning the balance scales, right? Organization, structure, aesthetic beauty. Those are all things related to Libra, right?
Hmm.
Whereas Aries is a lot more blunt force instrument,
Hmm. Yep.
right? And I'm sure at the early stage of your career, that probably resonated with you the most, right? You just get it done. Like
Hmm.
it's very action oriented
Yeah. And very solo at times. Yeah.
and very solo, very solo. But you know what? You were a warrior. You're like a warrior princess, and you could basically make stuff happen. I could see that in your personality type. I would bet. Are you an ENTJ?
I'm not sure. I would have to look it up.
So I'll do a little Myers Briggs test on you right now, very fast.
Okay.
Do you get more energy by being around other people or by being by yourself?
Myself.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your tolerance for risk?
10. I love
Okay.
risk. Yeah.
Do you make decisions first with your head and then justify them with your heart? Or is it first with your heart and then justify with your head?
Always with my heart first.
Okay. And then finally, what's your closet look like?
Very organized.
Very organized. Okay. So I would say you are an INTJ.
INTJ.
I stands for introversion. N stands for intuitive. That's why you're a risk taker. T starts with thinker. And J is judging, but it doesn't really mean judging. It just means that you like closure and you like to make decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you're fast about those decisions. You can make decisions very quickly. You're not someone who is going to seek leadership, but leadership will always find you.
Wow, that's really good. Nice work. Nice
So
work.
an INTJ is the most common for entrepreneurs and CEOs.
Makes
INTJ
sense.
and ENTJ are the most common. I'm also an INTJ.
You're INTJ. Oh, wow.
I'm the same as you.
I feel like yesterday when I got to sit with you, I was like, I saw into a mirror. A male version. Yeah.
So basically what that means is that you're good at handling and managing just about anything. Which is how you've been able to take your ideas all the way to full fruition. See, if you had a messy closet, you wouldn't have been able to do that so easily. But because your closet is neat and organized, you know how to go for closure, so you'll actually finish something before starting something new.
Yeah. Yep.
And this is what makes you very, very successful. Plus, you've got the smarts for it. So INTJs they're masterminds in chess. You're a strategist, a natural strategist.
Yeah.
So these are the things, when you combine that with a North Node in Libra, that's going to be a pretty big transit for you, a massive shift into a whole different kind of way of working and living.
Yeah. It's interesting you're talking about astrology right now, because I've had these like secret parts of myself that I haven't shared. And I always wonder if anyone would ever know about these ways of the way I operate. And I just recently, it's like I'm meeting these souls. You're included in it. You gave me massive permission. You have no idea. Just by you being you and you being vulnerable yesterday, you gave me permission on something within myself, and unlocked something within me. But I also just recently met this woman named Deborah Silverman. Are you familiar with her?
I know Deborah well. Yeah. She's a good friend.
She meets me like on a quick Zoom call, like we did yesterday, but it wasn't like a podcast. She's like, come to my house. I'm called to just work with you for free. Come see me in Hawaii, because I was leading this healing experience for women. And she's like, tells me these things that no one has ever seen, but I've always known about myself. And she's like, I've not seen this before. And she's like, Danette. And she's like, all I want to do, she's like, you transport me. She's like, I just want to sit with you. And she just mirrored something in me that no one has ever done before, that I've always been like, this is my secret. Like, how do you know these things? And it's been interesting this recently, what's happening for me and what's uncovering through these souls that are coming in just with their own filament of who they are, to shine light on the filament within me that I've wanted no one to know. And so anyway, it's interesting you're talking about astrology, because she was like, worked with me for a full day for free, and was like, you know, she's like, text me now, like we're so close, because
she's like the astrologist to the stars.
Yeah, she's powerful, like to where she can read someone's chart and know the deep intricacies of the secrets of who they are trying to hold themselves to be. She's like, Danette, it's time. Like, you got to go.
I did a podcast with her where she did a reading on me. And you can find it on YouTube. Just look up my name plus her name.
Okay, great.
And then you'll find a long reading. It was really profound, because what I realized also subsequent to that was that when you go into the North Node, your transit positions actually start to alter. So how do they alter? They alter in the form that you become more sidereal. Are you familiar with sidereal versus tropical astrology?
No.
So tropical astrology is what we've all been sort of used to using for a long time, right? It's the same normal thing. But actually, the way that the astronomy aspect of this actually works is that because our time calendars have very slight adjustments that need to be made in them, where our transits actually are is in something called sidereal. So even though we say that, it's like Taurus is May from April 21st until May 21st, approximately. What theirs says is the same as Vedic, which is the Indian
Right.
version. Vedic is sidereal, and so it says that it starts
Okay.
on May 15th, almost a month later. Right?
Right.
It's 24 days later.
Right.
So everything is off by 24 degrees.
Sounds like
Right?
a lot of other things, right? Like these 24 no.
That's
So,
right. Like 24 notes, everything. It's all about divinity.
mm-hmm.
And so what happens is you want to start looking into, now that you're going into your North Node, once you become aware of it, you start going into it. And now that you're going into that, what you should also start considering is to look at your sidereal placements.
Okay.
So all of the placements that are towards the beginning of each of your signs. So let's say you look at your rising sign. My rising is Libra, but it remains Libra because I'm at the, I'm still at I'm at the end of Libra. So I remain in Libra in the sidereal system.
That's your rising is Libra.
My rising is Libra. And my sun sign is Taurus, and I remain in Taurus because I'm born on May 16th. It's the end of May, end of the tropical Taurus means I'm still in the sidereal Taurus. I'm just now at the beginning of Taurus, right? And by the same token, my other positions, which would be like Mercury is in Gemini for me right now, but actually it moves into Taurus because of this 24-degree shift. And my moon also moves into Taurus from Gemini. So my Gemini moon, my Taurus, rather my Mercury moves into Taurus. My Venus moves from Aries into Pisces, which means that the way that I love and have relationships will become much softer and more emotional.
Yeah. I could see
less
that.
aggressive.
Yeah.
Less assertive. So these are the things, once you move into your North Node and you become cognizant of that, then your placements start moving more towards, they take on the characteristics of your sidereal placements. So look into that and see where it basically takes you, because it'll take you down an interesting rabbit hole, I have a feeling.
I'm
It's
curious
very
if she
interesting.
shared that with me, but maybe didn't use that term because she was talking a lot about this rotation that was taking place, and she was telling me how rare it was, and I really needed to like research it, learn it, and look into it. And it's very Neptunian. She said, she's like, it's require, like she just said, things and you need to start expressing them. So
See, that's what you're doing, right?
mm-hmm.
That's also part of your Libra, is also one of the teaching related signs.
Yeah.
You know,
And I'm
I
Gemini
moved in from
rising in I'm a Gemini riser, I guess. Gemini rising. Yeah.
And so Gemini rising is also something that is a characteristic. So the Gemini rising is highly intelligent, right? And so you'll end up resonating with people that are going to be more in the intellectual realm,
Yeah.
because you'll be interested in how they see the world. It's like you'll start to integrate how they perceive the world, and you'll value their perception.
Yep.
And so all of these things kind of come together to tell the story about you. And if you haven't done it yet, I highly recommend looking into Gene Keys as well.
Yeah, I did start, but it's a deep dive. Like this requires, because I did start it and I know what mine is, but I'm like, I need to take some time because it's very intricate, very intricate.
It's profound. And so is, your human design.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these things combine together to give you, along with numerology and another one called Lost Octave, they combine to give you a very 360-degree kind of perception or perspective on yourself and your mission and your journey through life.
Yeah.
What your proclivities are, what your temptations will be, what your disappointments are likely to be, and what your key and core strengths are likely also to be. And it's pretty damn accurate, I have to say, because we're in a matrix. So that's how it can be accurate, right?
Exactly.
That's how it can totally be accurate. But as you've made this transit now, you're moving more in towards things like sound healing and meditation and breath work, that kind of accompanies that as well. How's that been for you to transit into that area? And what's your goal in doing these things for your clientele?
Yeah. So what I've learned about my personality is I will receive information. I tap into what we might call the quantum, but I wasn't calling it that. I'm a very highly, I will see things. I'll know things about people. They'll happen. I'll know things about my path. This is also why I don't ever hesitate if I receive information about starting a business or starting something, because I know it's inevitable, because I've been shown this. I've been when I was a little girl, but I was always really scared to know these things. Like, I didn't want to know about people. I didn't want to know these secrets that would come out later. I didn't want anyone to know I knew them. And I'm always feeling like I'm catching up to what I've known. And what I mean by that is people like you that are like scientific based will be like, we came out with this thing. And I'll be like, why did I know this like before anyone was really talking about it? But I just keep inside of me, right? And what I've been feeling for a long time, for years, 6+ years, I was seeing these 4 stadiums around the globe, and they hit the 4 corners of the earth. And I was seeing that there was this tipping point with all these souls gathered inside these stadiums, listening to these sound frequencies, using their body as an antenna, like a tuning fork, to create with. And there were these screens, and we could all tune to, let's say, for example, there's a drought in some part of the world, and we were all tuning to watching rain come down and to see it. And we were shifting humanity, shifting what's going on in the globe through sound frequency, through the joy that we're feeling, through the unity that we're feeling. And then I was also seeing these sound frequencies completely healing different viruses, different diseases within the body, which are created by the human, by the mind, by what their perception is of whatever they think they took on, right? This is all created, but what if you can shift that through a frequency? And I was seeing that this is going on, and I was never the musician. So this has been interesting for me, because I'm like, what am I supposed to do with these visions that I'm getting that are not leaving me and showing up all the time? And so then I started to dive into it, and I was receiving codes around, okay, like take this frequency, like you were saying, you start adding these and you stretch it, you condense it, it starts to be a tuning fork within the system. Yeah. So I started playing around with it, be terrified to share with people. I didn't want to be labeled. I'm the entrepreneur. I'm the fitness girl. I'm the nutritionist, like taking the things that people can understand that they won't think is too out there. But I knew I needed to step into this stuff. So I've been playing with it, most of it very quietly. A few people get to experience it, but doing profound healings on people, rewiring systems, rewiring cancer, rewiring all sorts of things. People will have a heart murmur, and they're hooked up, and their doctor's like, what did you just have done? Like, why is this gone? And these are things I haven't wanted anyone to know, but I need to start to embrace this part of me and know that I'm safe in them. So that's really what's coming, is these sound frequencies, sacred geometry, visuals overhead in your eyes, overlaying over your body as you listen to these sound frequencies, and hold these intentions, these unified intentions with others as well, to do massive things on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, that's very interesting. So what have you seen as far as like the reaction that you've had from people that you've done these kind of treatments on? What are the major benefits?
Well, so I started it about 2.5 years ago. I was doing it for close friends, my family, keeping it very quiet, because I didn't even want to be questioned about it, because I was like, I wasn't trained. I actually don't know why this is working. I don't know the science behind it. I'm just following what I'm being told to do from spirit. So that's where I was hiding, is like, I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm just doing what I'm feeling. I don't know why this is working. So I did my very first healing experience, and I was scared to death. I even got a little sick, because my body was trying to like get me out of it, but I was like, I'm going to stay, hold the line. And every single woman that came in, we had 55 at first. Every single woman, they all came with different things, whether it was an actual hip situation, broken foot, heart murmur, cancer in the body. They all had different things, which I tell them never to tell me what it is. And then at the end, go to a doctor, get the back feed of what happened. Every single person healed. Person came in, couldn't walk, walking miles by the end of it. We're just doing it for 6 days. And so I decided after that I was safe. Like I was really scared, but then I was like, I'm safe. Like no one's like coming after me. I don't know why I get really scared. I'm learning to work with that. And now I've done 5 cents and all the same feedback.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. And so do you use particular frequencies to treat particular things?
Yes, I use certain frequencies, I use certain crystals, and I use star beings. I let the star beings come into the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't talk about this, but you were vulnerable yesterday. So I don't talk about this typically on podcasts, but I'm being brave. Thank you, Deborah Silverman. And I'm going to start speaking about it.
Good for you. So what else would you like to share with us then related to that?
I'm not sure, other than what I would tell, because I believe every human wants profound healing, whether it's in the mind, in the heart, in the body. And I believe that we're on the precipice, and I think we're at the start. I believe there's a big wave coming. Just like, I'm going to use an example that we can all relate to. Remember when hot yoga was a wave? It lasted like 10 years. Yoga is still popular, but there was a wave, and you can see waves. And my brain works like in business. I can see when trends are going to happen and how long that crest is going to last and how long it will last. Like they still, trickle out into societies, but there's always usually like this crescendo, right? And I feel this crescendo, we're at the beginning still, but there's going to be this crescendo of natural forms of healing, and using energy and using sound frequencies and geometry shapes is going to have a crescendo effect. And we're going to see so much happening in bodies and energies. And I think we can talk about this. This has been talked about for a long time, but we're going to actually start to see that this becomes more mainstream. And that's what I'm sensing and feeling.
Interesting. So how do you think that applies to what's happening in the world right now? What's your sense on what the world's going through? Because it seems like we're in a very unprecedented time. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on what do you think is happening with government, what's happening with society, what's happening with kind of all the institutions. Why do they all feel like they're kind of dissolving somehow or falling apart?
Well, I guess it depends on what your human wants to experience, right? So if you're talking to me and you're like, this is what I'm seeing that institutions are falling apart, that the government's erratic, that jobs don't feel stable, because I hear what people are saying, but ultimately life is only happening based off your internal world. So yes, that's happening for you, but it doesn't mean it's happening for me.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
so as a collective, we're all a part of this collective experience, but I actually believe that there's going to be people that are witnessing completely different things. And I think that's what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that what's happening in the government, what like one person is seeing, like let's just use an example. One person seeing corruption, one person seeing anarchy, one person seeing dictatorship, one person, they're all seeing these things. They're actually right. They're seeing that. They're right. That is their human experience, and they're going to get more of that human experience. And then there's people that are seeing collapsing for better, like there's going to be something better that comes from this, and we're going to have more growth, and we're going to have more freedoms. They are also going to get that, and they're going to have that experience. I actually believe that, and I know this is not a popular way of seeing life, or this might feel like a good way to bypass something. We're all having an experience based off what dimension we are in. And so I'm just choosing, and what I like to teach people is you get to choose what dimension you want to be in. You need to pull back your power. You need to understand your power of this heart, and that you get to experience life of what you want to experience. If you want to experience destruction, poverty, dictatorship, that might be that human experience you want to experience, and you will experience it. Or you can jump into another dimension.
I think that's totally right. And I also believe, though, that like if you go into the fifth dimension experience, right, which is or sometimes referred to as the fourth density, I think a lot of the things that we have become used to in the, third density and this fourth dimensional reality of time are no longer vibrating with resonance in the same way. So a lot of the things that we had in society that formed the strictures and structures of arbitration, the self-appointed arbiters of what's lawful and what's unlawful, what's truthful and what's not truthful, what's moral and what's amoral, i.e., religious institutions, government, educational, institutions like universities, etc. I mean, ChatGPT by itself, just the advent of AI is going to irrevocably change everything related to education. And there's so many huge advantages with that. But just to the same token, every time you have a new technology come out, I've never seen it ever break the rule of every action has an equal opposite reaction.
Exactly. Because
There'll
there's
always be
multiple.
positives and negatives of any new technology. You just won't get away from that. Just so that there's always going to be positive, negative with any person, right? And I'm not afraid of people that have darkness. I'm only afraid of people that believe they have none.
Yeah.
And so the point is that I do believe that in the higher realms, in the fifth dimensional space, that we will be moving more and more towards a self-sovereign society. And that is going to mean that a lot of those things that have been these self-appointed arbiters of what is truthful and untruthful, what's lawful and unlawful, and what's moral and amoral or immoral, are going to be in a way transcended as part of the overall transcendence of the duality or judgment based framework of a matrix that we've been living in, because that's the reflection of our inner world.
Exactly. So what you believe about this happening will happen for you and your circle of people around you,
Yeah.
because you're going to only be around people that see what you see. And so that will be your dimension. That will be what you are reflected back. But there are going to be others that are seeing something completely different.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's going to be people that go deep into duality,
Right. And
deep into
so,
judgment. And that's the split that, has been talked about for a long time by Dolores Cannon and so many other people. And what I'm saying is that is absolutely materializing. And so if we think we can or we think we can't, we'll be right.
exactly.
This is a
I
function of
mean,
Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. It just is a fact.
well, let me ask you, are you getting real life physical experiences, not when you're taking anything or not when it's like feels like a dream, but it's like real life in front of you, like as clear as day as this computer is in front of us right now, of experiences of seeing the split, of seeing how people you might be around are completely seeing something different. I'm getting this a lot. Like, I think spirit's like, I'm just going to show you straight up so you never question again.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Of course. I mean, it's almost as if, okay, if you just talk about the pandemic, there are literally two very radically different realities that people experienced.
100%.
And even to this day, even with all the news and everything about, and I'm not Republican and I'm not Democrat, I'm independent. I have been. I don't vote party, I vote candidate. And the truth is that, like, there are some people that literally, like my brother is one, my gay brother, who's a high school teacher. He definitely, and he teaches music, so he's definitely of the liberal mindset. He definitely thinks that the vaccine was the best thing that he ever did. Right.
Yeah,
And
and
that
he'll
everyone
probably
should have
hold
done
firm
it.
to that, right?
Yeah, he'll hold firm to that. He'll totally hold firm to that. And I could speak to him like, until I'm blue in the face and say, yo, dude, haven't you like seen all the research on this that's now coming out about all this? And it's like, it's literally a different track of life. He's not seen a single thing about that. He thinks everything was the certain way and it's all based on this one narrative. And I'm like, wow, what a different universe you're living in.
Totally. And they're right. And you're right.
Yes, that's
And that's
right.
the thing. We get to like let people be their own right, because that's truly what's going on.
Exactly. And that's exactly why I'm saying what's happening now in the world, and this is happening on probably both sides of the equation. If I asked him, do you see that government is becoming less influential in your life? He would probably say, yes, it probably is. And to a certain extent, he may even be a little bit sad about that, right? Because he's one of the people that believed that he really liked government. I'm a libertarian. I just say, I don't care what the government does as long as you just leave me alone. Let me do my thing, right? I don't really care. But he's of the mindset of, more redistribution, more activism, and all of these things. And I don't begrudge him for it. That's his right, and that's his belief, and more power to him. I don't really care.
Right.
But the thing is the whatever you perceive as your reality will become your reality.
1000%.
And so I'm definitely seeing this kind of split where you can't even really have conversations, because it's like, instead of having two lines that might meet at some conflict, right, off in the distance, the two lines are literally like parallel tracks that will never converge. And they're becoming more and more divergent
They're actually
rather
moving
than
like this.
convergent.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
It's
mean,
like the backwards part of a perspective drawing that has like like my shirt. This is perspective drawing. This is one of my pieces of artwork. This is perspective. So there's a vanishing point on this,
exactly.
right? And so it's like reverse vanishing point. Everything is diverging out. And I see this every day, and I think it's going to become more and more significant. And I see it I see everything that's happening as an incredible blessing. I see life as becoming exactly what it should be, and all the things that, I had hoped for and wished for as coming to fruition and coming to pass. Because to me, it's like, I've figured out in my world, at least in my existence, has government even been good for humanity? I don't think so. I really don't. And, I watched this thing this morning on Make-A-Wish, and they basically analyzed Make-A-Wish Foundation. And I used to be on the board of Make-A-Wish Foundation. And I'm not going to say anything negative about them, but what came out about it that was causing an uproar was that out of the $124 million that were donated to Make-A-Wish, or to the Wish Foundation, only 2.5% went to kids. $109 million went to attorneys.
We're going to get more and more of this. We're going to hear more and more about.
So this is just, now we're becoming aware
Yep.
of what's been happening. The stuff that, like him or hate him, Elon Musk and what he's doing with Doge and the whole deal with, basically the efficiency focus that's now basically all throughout government. I actually think a lot of things are going to get exposed. But the funny thing is that I know lots of people, my brother probably included, who don't want any of it to be exposed. Which is like, why would you not want corruption to be exposed?
I mean, I think if we can go back to the basics, I think as humans, we're trying so hard to like expand and go into almost, I want to call it the galactic realm. Like, we want to be so advanced and we want to expand so much, but we've forgotten the earth. Like, we've forgotten to go clear back to the basics. And the basics are that no one really wants to know the truth. They don't really want to see the shadow. No one really wants to see the shadow. And we're suffering because of it. And we even choose our own suffering, but we say we don't. We're not going back to so much of the basics. We're trying to advance so fast in these other realms that actually it's keeping us from advancing to all these realms, because we're not going back to the basics of Earth and back to the basics of the fundamental truths of suffering, of that we created and that we're creating it.
Did you know that there's a new love affair with mathematics and geometry happening all around the world today? People who once despised these subjects in high school are now finding they're falling in love with them. Do you know why? Because math without meaning is simply information, whereas math with meaning is divine communication. My courses, The Etymology of Number and The Language of Light, guide you on a journey of self-discovery, sharpening your problem solving and pattern perceiving, as well as analytical and creative thinking, and unlocking your fullest polymathic potential. And most importantly, acquainting you with the mathematical language of the universe itself. You will never see the U inverse the same again. To get started, I recommend The Etymology of Number, a 4-part series that explores the evolution of numbers and their impact on fields like physics, chemistry, music, and art. It is the embodiment of Leonardo da Vinci's encouragement to study the science of art and the art of science. Learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else. My second course series, The Language of Light, is a 6-part series that builds on concepts from the first course and offers deeper insights into unified sciences, ancient wisdom, spirituality, and their relevance to today. My courses are always fun and easy to understand. They intertwine mathematics, music, art, and consciousness, and illuminate the mathematical connections that span all disciplines of science and art. Register for these 2 courses, Etymology of Number and The Language of Light, at robertedwardgrant.com under the Courses tab. And join the Robert Edward Grant community chat on Orion Messenger for lively, engaging, and innovative discourse.
So we create everything around us with all of our thoughts, and we're experiencing this. What is, do you think, the purpose then?
I believe we all come in with a different assignment. And so this, my intention as I'm dropping into this conversation is I'm always wanting to be almost like this. If I can be anything, like I'm in this human form, but if I can just be a balm, a salve of like pouring over your hurts and your pain and bringing you back to your heart, then I'm happy. Like I just want to do that. I want to help alleviate any pain that someone might be feeling. And when I think about what we're just talking about this parallel line and it's diverging and people see this and that, I think a lot of this is actually causing us pain. It's causing disease in our body. And so when I talk to women that are actually dealing with cancer, dealing with whatever, some type of pain, disease in the body, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, is irrelevant. A lot of this pain and this suffering is coming because you're wanting everyone to see the life the way you see it.
Yes.
And you want everyone to understand the way you see it. And you're trying to explain. I try to like word it this way, like, because people can understand, say you are in the 1920s, and we're in 2025, and you're trying to explain to someone in the 1920s about AI, about believing this, about doing this. They're going to be like, what the heck are you talking about? And you're like, understand me, believe me, you're wrong, I'm right. And they're like, all they can see is 1920 and all you can see is 2025. No one's right or wrong, but we're creating so much suffering in our own bodies because we're trying so hard to justify our assignment. And so if we can let it go, try to not have everyone see life the way we see it, and try to understand our assignment and that everybody has to be on the same assignment, I think that's the point.
Oh, I think you're 100% right on that, because that's exactly what happens. I believe that our judgments is what brings us suffering. And if we can learn to just live and observe without judging, we'll be a lot happier. And also stop trying to convince anyone.
Not trying to sweep things under the rug. It's just the truth. What someone else is going to experience about this government that's happening right now, and I could share you my whole perception of what I believe, which will happen for me, but it doesn't mean it will happen for you or whoever's listening. All I have control over is my dimension, what I'm walking in, what I'm choosing. And I love teaching people that they can choose theirs too.
Okay, then how do you respond to someone that would say, but wait, that's just spiritual bypassing?
Well, I always say this. I might be making it all up, but I sure am enjoying it.
That's a good quote. I might be making it all up, but I sure am enjoying it. And what does it matter anyway?
I always say that. I'm like, I could be completely wrong, but I'm enjoying this ride.
You know what?
I'm enjoying my own story.
That's exactly the way to look at the world, because Earth is either a heaven or hell. It's what you make of it. It's what you believe it to be is what it will actually be.
And I've walked through hell. I've actually experienced that version. And I'm with you, like, this next version, this dimension I'm in now, no. I've walked it. I've experienced it. Now I want to experience the queen enjoying herself.
So wait, that means that you're allowing yourself to let go of both judgment and suffering.
Yeah.
And how
Doesn't
does
mean I'm
that
not
look
going
for
to feel
you?
pain. I'll feel pain. I'll have emotions. They're just tuning forks for me, for my evolution, for my growth.
So you don't feel the need to convince people. It was funny. I was in Sedona about a month ago, and I was on podium with William Henry, who's on Gaia, and a few other folks. Sarah Bressman Cosme, who does the QHHT sessions, and Adam Apollo and Aaron Abke, who are all good friends of mine. And Alan Steinfeld asked the question, and he's like, how do we tell all the people around the world about this wisdom so that we can get more people to understand this and touch more people? And William's answer I thought was really good, and it was the same as mine. I would have said it, but he said it before I said it. He said, we don't need to convince all the people around the world. And Alan was like, what? Why? What do you mean? He said, no, I mean, the people that resonate at that frequency are going to show up. We don't need to convince anyone of anything. And he said, I'm done trying to convince people of anything. And that's so freeing, because the weight of that pressure of we have to convert the whole world to anything has been incredibly oppressive to society for millennia. And for him to be able to just say, I let that go. I went to this bathroom at one of my friend's house last week, and I went and opened the door, and of course I was just standing there looking around, and I look right above the toilet. There was like a Buddha with like a lotus flower coming out of his head, sitting on a lotus shaped mat, and it was right at the top of the toilet. It said, "Let that shit go." And I was like, wow, okay, there's a message from the universe right there.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
We hold on to so much stuff, and we're actually only here. The only thing that's real in this matrix of mind is whatever we believe the only real limitations are in this world are the ones we persistently believe in. And they inform those perceptions, and the way we see the world informs our emotional state. And the only thing that ultimately is real is what we feel.
Exactly. That's why I even get a little like confused. I'll hear people I actually really respect be like, just be your authentic self. Be your authentic self. That's the most divine thing, the most spiritual thing you can be. And I'm like, I don't think we all even know who our authentic selves are. I think we're all evolving. Like, I could say I'm being authentic, but the truth is I am programmed. And the truth is I'm still unlayering who my authentic self is. No one, someone who says that they're authentic, I'm like, just like someone says that they're spiritual, I'm like, I call BS. As soon as you say that, I call inauthenticity, because we are so programmed. I'm still trying to figure out who the heck I am and who is the real Danette. Because we're programmed.
This is when you go like this, and you pull off your mask.
And like you said, all we are is what we feel. And so
I thought I saw something different in your eyes, by the way. Yeah.
probably did.
No, it's true. It's so true. And I think about this often, because the only thing I've learned through my whole spiritual path the most is the more I learn, the less I feel I actually know.
Exactly.
So
all
it's
I
like,
know is love. Actually, the truth, the only thing that stays the same is love and fear. That's the only emotion that I'm like, oh, I know that. I know love and I know fear. So I don't need, like you said, like as soon as we're trying to convince someone, it's because we're in fear, right? Because then we think we're only safe if everyone sees the way we see it. But if I can just, all I need to focus on every day, not on being authentic, not on doing something great, not on anything other than, can I just be in love? Like, can I just be in love? And just let
with everything.
Yeah, and just like it with everything. And that's the harder one. Can I be in love with everything? And that's the work. And that's the end of the discussion, really, for me, is that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I think that's so true. We all get stuck in this mentality of thinking we've got to do something a certain way. We've got to go down this path. We've got to be vegan, or we've got to, be whatever. You could name every kind of biohack on planet Earth, right? And literally go through that. And then you'll find dogma around each of them as well. When actually the truth is, the most important thing is just to fall in love with the world just as it is.
And you and life and your
And you.
emotions.
It's all a function of your own self-love. You can only love to the capacity that you have for your own self-love. Just as our consciousness can only expand to the volume of the cage of our own belief systems. You can only love to the same capacity that you can internalize that love to yourself. And I think it's so much more simple than what we think. We think we've got to go down all these different paths and everything. And it's really just like fall in love with the world just as it is, and stop finding fault with it. And it will start looking at it as it's all divine.
That's your lens. What a beautiful lens.
Everything is divine, even the difficult stuff that happens to me that I need to experience, going through a difficult breakup or something, whatever it is, it's all for my own expansion and my own benefit.
Yeah.
And why? Why did the one source creator want to create me to experience that? Because I'm unique, and so are you, and all of us are. And it can observe itself through our unique eyes of expression and our unique eyes of perception. And there'll never be another one like me, not even my other former and future, maybe, incarnations. They will all be very, very different because each one of them has different set of conditioning biases and nature and nurture that's gone into the ingredients that made me who I uniquely am right now, how I see the world. Yeah. And that is informing an Akashic record based on every single emotional state that I have that is derived from my way of perceiving.
Yeah.
And that allows Source Creator to become more expanded consciousness that expands at the speed of light, which is probably just the speed of our perception. So as we kind of go into this, life is not so difficult. I think we make it so difficult.
Some of us like puzzles.
Okay, I'm guilty on that one.
Some of us like a good puzzle, a good thing to solve. So we create it.
You know what? I think that's what I would probably do. I would probably give myself a partner that I would want to find that would be so perplexingly difficult because I'm such a cryptographer that I want to crack it over and over and over again. And even when I do crack it, I've not really cracked it. I've only cracked one more layer of the encryption.
It's so fun to crack.
And I would probably spend a whole lifetime
cracking
and like going away from and then coming back into. And then I started thinking, wait a minute. Maybe that's what the one is doing with the entire universe, that it sets itself up to experience this absence of love so that it can feel the feeling of love as it returns. The one divides itself into the many simply for the joy of becoming one again. And in order to feel and experience that joy, it has to experience the separation from that joy.
The yin and the yang.
The yin and the yang. And so then you have a universe that's constantly inhaling and exhaling, falling out of love and falling back into love with itself over and over and over again.
We love it.
We love that. Orion is unique. No algorithms, no propaganda, and no exploitation. Just end-to-end quantum secure data. Messages, groups, and shared media behind a wall of next-generation encryption. Thank you so much, Danette, for being with me today.
Yeah.
I love the way you see the world, and you're right. We definitely see the world pretty similarly on many, many levels. And I appreciate you being open and vulnerable. And how can people find out about you and more about your books and your work?
You probably can find or experience more of me on my show, the Danette May Show, because it is me speaking. But you can also go social website. I mean, if you like that kind of stuff, you can go to DanetteMay.com.
Awesome. If you like that kind of stuff. Okay. That's the way you set the residents out there. It's not for everyone. DanetteMay.com. Okay, cool. Such a pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to meeting you in person at some point in time in the future.
Yeah, me too.
All the best.
Thank you.
Until next week on Think Tank. Have a great week, everyone.